Welcome everyone to today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in modern coin collecting, a journey that takes us into the world of small copper-plated zinc pieces of pocket change that most people overlook, yet in the rarest of circumstances can be worth millions, and in this case we will be exploring the astonishing tale of the 1995 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that despite its humble face value of just a penny has been rumored and recorded in certain extraordinary cases to reach values as high as $17 million, all because of the errors, the mistakes, the production anomalies, and the numismatic curiosities that elevate it from everyday change into a legendary treasure. So let us welcome you into this exploration where history, minting technology, human error, and collector passion all converge to create a market-defining phenomenon that makes such a small object command such a monumental price. And as we unfold this story, we will start by grounding ourselves in the context of the 1995 D penny itself, struck at the Denver Mint during a period in American history when billions of pennies were being produced annually, often under rushed conditions to meet demand, which inevitably introduced flaws into the striking process, flaws that for the most part went unnoticed at the time by the public who saw pennies only as tools of commerce. Yet for coin enthusiasts and specialists, such flaws were golden opportunities, and over time these mistakes began to fuel a secondary market that could turn a copper-plated zinc cent into a fortune, and among the most famous of errors associated with the 1995 issues was the double die phenomenon, a mechanical misalignment that occurs when the hub strikes the die more than once but at slightly different angles, producing coins where the inscriptions, date, or design elements appear double to the naked eye. Most famously in 1995 Philadelphia struck cents where the double die obverse made headlines. But the Denver Mint was not immune to its own mishaps, with some 1995 D examples displaying rare die cracks, off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, partial collars, and even dramatic cuts where portions of the die broke away leaving blank voids on the coin's surface. And in the world of numismatics, such errors are not just curiosities. They are the lifeblood of high-value collecting because they capture a moment of imperfection in an otherwise highly regimented minting system, and when such errors are combined with rarity, condition, provenance, and collector demand, they can lead to jaw-dropping auction prices, which is precisely what elevates certain 1995 D cents into multi-million-dollar realms. But what exactly makes a coin like this climb as high as $17 million, a number that seems almost surreal for a penny? And the answer lies in the intersection of multiple possibilities. For instance, one possibility could be a coin struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being pressed on a normal zinc core with a copper coating, it could have been struck on a planchet intended for a dime, a foreign coin, or even a transitional metal composition, creating a hybrid piece that is one of a kind, and such freak accidents are treasured beyond measure. Another possibility involves proof-like strikes, where a coin somehow emerges from circulation dies with deep mirrored surfaces and sharp frosted devices that make it resemble a proof even though it was never meant to be one, creating an eye appeal factor so strong that collectors bid against each other ferociously. And still another possibility involves dramatic off-metal errors like being struck on a silver dime planchet or even a cent planchet from pre-year 1982 copper alloy, but with the wrong year date or mint mark, which turns the piece into a historical anomaly. And the value of $17 million attached to one such coin is not just a reflection of rarity but also of collector psychology. Because when two or more wealthy collectors decide they must possess the same coin at any cost, the bidding wars can escalate beyond rational market expectations, and auction records have shown time and again that coins with unique error profiles can break all conventional boundaries. Now with the 1995 D penny, we must remember that it came at a time when Lincoln cent designs had been in circulation for decades and most Americans hardly paid attention to them, yet the dedicated numismatist community was constantly scouring rolls, bags, and circulation for varieties and errors. And in Denver, which was responsible for striking billions of coins annually, the pressure on machinery and dies meant that errors were almost guaranteed, from misaligned dies producing off-center portraits to strike-through errors where foreign objects such as grease, cloth, or even small pieces of wire accidentally found their way between die and planchet, leaving ghost-like impressions or missing details. To repunched mint marks where the letter D was punched multiple times slightly off alignment, all of which combine to produce unique collectible identities. And when these errors intersect with a coin that has been preserved in pristine condition, say a mint state grade above MS-67 or MS-68 certified by a top grading agency, the scarcity of such a flawless yet flawed specimen skyrockets its desirability. For collectors know that out of the billions minted, only a handful survived in such extraordinary form, and when one of those handful turns out to be a dramatic error piece, the price transcends logic, so it is not impossible that a particular 1995 D cent with the right combination of doubling, planchette anomaly, strike error, and immaculate condition could command such stratospheric value, and indeed reports of such coins selling or being valued at 17 million _ how myth, rarity, and the feverish energy of numismatics intertwine, but beyond the price tag there is also the story of how these coins reflect the imperfections of human industry, because every die error, every off-center strike, every doubled letter tells us that even in the age of machines perfection is elusive, and collectors cherish these flaws not as mistakes but as markers of authenticity and history, making the 1995 CD cent not just a coin but a narrative frozen in metal, one that links us to the processes of the mint, to the oversight of engravers, to the chance alignment of steel and copper, and to the hands of ordinary people who might have once received such a coin in change without realizing they were holding a fortune. And as we expand on the types of errors that could have created a $17 million cent, we can think of examples such as double denomination strikes where a penny is accidentally struck over a previously struck dime or nickel, producing a coin that shows the ghost of two different denominations, a numismatic marvel that excites specialists. Or uniface strikes where one side of the coin is completely blank due to missing dies, or brokerage where a coin sticks to the die and impresses its mirror image onto the next planchette, each of these rare anomalies amplifying the coin's appeal, and when collectors know only one such example exists, the bidding escalates to the point where the value ceases to be about the metal itself but becomes about ownership of a unique artifact, which is why the 1995 D penny, despite being struck by the billions, has the potential to become a singular masterpiece worth $17 million, and it is this paradox that makes coin collecting so thrilling, that the tiniest coin in your pocket change could be the one that rewrites your financial destiny, and while most 1995 D pennies will forever remain worth just 1 cent, it only takes one error-ridden, condition-defying survivor to make headlines and remind us that treasure still circulates among us, waiting to be discovered, and so the 1995 D Lincoln cent with its stories of doubling, off-center strikes, die breaks, misstruck planchets, and perhaps one-of-a-kind anomalies stands as a testament to the value hidden in everyday objects, a testament that explains how a coin costing less than a cent to mint could one day command a fortune of $17 million. And it is with this captivating reality that we close our journey into the world of rare error pennies, inviting you to reflect on the mystery, the rarity, and the incredible possibilities that lie in something as small and overlooked as a 1-cent coin, because sometimes it is not gold or silver that hides wealth, but rather copper-plated zinc that, through error and history, becomes worth more than its weight in any precious metal. So always check your change carefully, for you never know if the next 1995 D penny you hold might just be the one that turns an ordinary moment into an extraordinary treasure. And with that thought in mind, we welcome you to stay curious, keep learning, and explore the wonders of history through the coins we often take for granted. And if you found this journey engaging, informative, and eye-opening, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us again for more deep explorations into the hidden treasures of our world. Next, we will explore the incredible story of the 2001 cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors and investors alike because of its astonishing value of $2.4 million, a figure that seems almost unbelievable when we think of a coin that was originally minted for just 1 cent, yet as history, errors, and the quirks of minting technology have shown us time and again, small mistakes and unique production anomalies can transform everyday currency into legendary pieces of history worth fortunes. And the 2000 penny is a perfect case study in how a simple copper-plated zinc coin can become so valuable through a combination of rarity, demand, and the fascination with errors that reveal the hidden stories behind the minting process. So let us journey together into the world of this coin, beginning with the context of its production at the turn of the millennium, when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies as it had for decades, continuing the long legacy of the Lincoln cent, which began in 1909, but within this massive scale of production, errors inevitably occurred, and some of those errors went unnoticed until sharp-eyed collectors discovered them, elevating ordinary coins into the realm of numismatic marvels. And in the case of the 2001 cent coin, there are multiple types of errors and mistakes reported that drive its value sky high, ranging from double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cuds, repunched mint marks, transitional metal compositions, and misaligned dies, all of which have been documented in other years but found in especially fascinating and valuable forms in the 2000 issue. And what makes this coin particularly enticing is not only the presence of such errors but also the fact that they occurred in a year symbolically important, marking the new millennium, which adds an aura of significance and collectability beyond the technical error itself. So let us carefully describe these errors and imagine the possibilities that make a single 2001 cent coin worth as much as $2.4 million, starting with the double die varieties where the obverse and reverse designs sometimes show doubling due to a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die receives its design from the master hub, and in 2000 there are reports of pennies with noticeable doubling on Lincoln's eye, the date, and the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," and when collectors find such double dies in sharp condition they are considered extremely desirable because they represent a major minting error that can only happen in very specific conditions, and since double dies are relatively rare compared to other types of errors, when one is confirmed and tied to a significant year like 2000 its value skyrockets, especially in high grades. And then we have the off-center strike errors, which occur when the planchette, the blank piece of metal prepared for striking, is not seated properly in the coining chamber, resulting in a coin that has part of the design missing while the rest is struck off-center, and such coins can range from slightly off to dramatically misaligned where perhaps only half the design is visible, and collectors prize dramatic off-center strikes particularly when the date remains visible, because without the date it becomes less identifiable. And so a 2001 cent coin with a 50% off-center strike and the date intact would be an incredibly rare and valuable specimen, possibly contributing to that multi-million-dollar valuation. And beyond that we also consider broad strikes, where a coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally contains the metal, causing it to expand outward and lose its standard diameter and rim, resulting in a larger, distorted but fully struck coin that is highly unusual and eye-catching. And in the year 2000 such broad strike pennies have been recorded and command high premiums. And then we must talk about clip planchets, which occur when the blanking press overlaps while cutting the metal strip, producing planchets with missing curved sections, and coins struck on these incomplete blanks show dramatic clips that collectors love, especially if they are combined with other errors like a double strike or off-center impression. And when one considers a 2000 penny with such combined errors the potential value grows enormously. And die cracks and cuds are another fascinating possibility, as the dies used to strike coins endure immense pressure and eventually form cracks, which leave raised lines on the coin, while larger die failures can produce cuds, which are areas of missing design where the die has broken away, leaving a blob-like raised feature on the coin. And coins with large, dramatic cuds are very collectible because they capture a moment of mechanical failure at the mint, essentially preserving a frozen accident in metal. And a 2000 penny with a dramatic cut across Lincoln's portrait would be incredibly desirable. And then we have repunched mint marks, though by 2000 the mint had largely shifted to more modern methods, yet varieties of this type still exist from certain die preparations, where the mint mark letter is punched more than once at slightly different angles, creating a ghost-like doubling that fascinates specialists. And when a 2000 coin with such a feature is found, especially in mint state, it becomes a rarity. And then there are transitional metal errors, which are some of the most valuable error coins in history, occurring when the mint switches the metal composition from one year to another and a few coins are accidentally struck on the old metal planchets. And although the Lincoln cent had shifted from bronze to copper-plated zinc in 1982, sometimes older stock or wrong planchets from other denominations can accidentally be struck, producing a coin of the wrong weight and composition, and collectors test these with scales and magnets to identify anomalies. And if a 2000 penny were struck on a leftover copper planchette or even on a dime or foreign coin blank, that would be the kind of discovery that fetches millions. And such a possibility helps explain how a coin from 2000 could be worth $2.4 million, as numismatic markets thrive on these once-in-a-lifetime anomalies. And furthermore, misaligned die strikes where the obverse and reverse designs do not properly line up can produce unusual coins where the two sides appear rotated relative to each other, and these attract error specialists, especially in dramatic degrees of rotation. And then double-struck or multiple-struck coins where the planchette is struck more than once, sometimes partially rotated between strikes, create dramatic overlapping images that seem surreal and are highly valued, especially when the date and key design features are still visible. And in 2000 some of these double-struck pennies exist and are highly prized. And we should also mention struck-through errors, where foreign objects such as grease, cloth, wire, or other debris get between the die and the planchette during striking, leaving behind impressions or blank spots where details should be. And struck-through coins are fascinating because each one is unique depending on the debris, and some can create spectacular missing features that captivate collectors. And all these categories of errors provide the foundation for why a 2001 cent coin could rise in value so dramatically. But beyond the technical aspects, we must consider the psychology of collectors and the dynamics of the market, because rarity alone does not guarantee value unless there is demand, and the Lincoln Cent series is one of the most collected coin series in American history, with millions of enthusiasts worldwide who seek to complete date and mint mark sets, era varieties, and high-grade examples. And when an unusual 2000 penny with dramatic errors appears at auction, it sparks bidding wars, driving up the price to extraordinary levels, and when coupled with the symbolism of the year 2000 as the beginning of a new era, the coin transcends its material worth to become a cultural artifact, a symbol of history, error, and chance, and that narrative fuels its multi-million-dollar valuation. And when we think of this coin's journey, from a simple minting accident to a prized possession fetching $2.4 million, we see how numismatics is not only about metal and minting but also about stories, rarity, and human fascination with imperfection. And as collectors continue to uncover and share these treasures, the legend of the 2001 cent coin grows, making it one of the most iconic modern era coins. And this is why in the world of coin collecting even a penny can be worth millions. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the 2000 penny and its incredible story of errors, mistakes, and possibilities, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden treasures of coins and currency. Last, we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins and numismatics, a story that combines history, human error, chance, and the enduring curiosity of collectors worldwide, because today we are going to unravel the tale of the 1984 Lincoln 1 cent coin that has become known not simply as a humble penny but as a numismatic treasure worth as much as $6 million. And the reasons behind this staggering valuation rest not only in its age or rarity but in the specific minting mistakes and errors that transformed what would have been an ordinary circulation piece into a legendary artifact of immense interest and financial value. And as we walk through this incredible narrative, we will explore the history of the Denver Mint in 1984, the processes that led to coins being struck, the possibilities of missteps along the way, the known and rumored era varieties, and why collectors have driven the price of such pieces to astonishing levels, because this coin serves as both a case study and a reminder of how tiny accidents in production can create immense fortune for the lucky few who discover them in circulation or inherit them unknowingly from a relative's old change jar. And it is precisely this combination of chance and discovery that makes stories like this so compelling to both seasoned collectors and casual viewers who might now be wondering whether their own pocket change holds a hidden gem. So let us begin at the heart of the matter. The Lincoln Cent itself, a coin first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, designed by Victor David Brenner, and minted for over a century in various forms, making it one of the most iconic and most widely collected coins in American history. And by 1984 the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been introduced in 1959, was still in use, struck on planchets of mostly copper-plated zinc since the 1982 transition from mostly copper coins, and at the Denver Mint in that year millions upon millions of cents were struck, but within that mass production system errors inevitably occurred, some minor, some major, and in rare cases errors so striking that they created pieces like the famous 1984 D-era cents that today carry values in the millions. And these errors are central to our story because without them a 1984 D penny would be just another common coin, worth a single cent, but with them it becomes a fortune. And the kinds of errors that could account for this astronomical valuation are diverse, ranging from double dies, off-center strikes, die clashes, misaligned dies, broad strikes, and wrong planchette errors, each with its own unique characteristics and level of rarity. So let us examine them more carefully, because in 1984 one of the most noted error varieties is the double die obverse, where the image of Lincoln's ear shows dramatic doubling, creating what collectors call the doubled-ear penny. And though many double dies exist across different years, the 1984 doubled ear is one of the most famous, and when that error occurs on a Denver minted coin it combines two levels of collectability: first the general rarity of the doubled ear itself, and second the mint mark placement and production issues associated with the Denver facility. And while most examples of this doubled ear penny are valued at hundreds or thousands depending on condition, there are rumors and reports of particularly striking specimens, possibly struck on wrong planches, or exhibiting multiple errors layered upon each other, that have driven valuations into the millions, and this is where our $6 million figure finds its roots, because error stacking, where a coin combines multiple major mistakes at once, is extraordinarily rare. So imagine a 1984 D penny that not only has the double-deer obverse but was also struck on a transitional wrong planchet. Perhaps a leftover copper planchet from 1982 or even a foreign planchet. Mistakenly fed into the presses, and then struck off-center or with die rotation, and one begins to see how the uniqueness compounds its value, since collectors prize coins that are one of a kind or close to it, because in the world of numismatics uniqueness translates directly into rarity, and rarity into value, and as with all legendary coins provenance matters too, for if a coin is discovered, authenticated by experts, and verified to be not only genuine but also the finest known example, its price can skyrocket at auction, particularly if wealthy collectors or institutions compete for ownership, and that is exactly the type of trajectory that has been recorded in stories surrounding the 1984 D penny with its fabled $6 million valuation. So let us consider more closely what such a coin might display, perhaps the obverse showing Lincoln with a clearly doubled ear, the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust exhibiting spread from die misalignment, the reverse possibly showing strike doubling on the Lincoln Memorial, with steps or columns misformed, and perhaps the mint mark D itself repunched, showing evidence of human adjustment, and now add in the possibility that this coin was struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design cut off but still with a full date and mint mark visible, which increases desirability because errors must retain identifiable features to be most valuable. And imagine if this coin were also struck on a copper planchet heavier than the standard zinc planchet of 1984, a compositional anomaly that collectors drool over because transitional planchets are notoriously rare, and all of these errors converging in one coin would explain why an ordinary penny could achieve a multi-million-dollar valuation. And when we explore how mistakes like these happen, we need to understand the minting process itself, where blank planchets are punched from metal sheets, fed into presses, struck by obverse and reverse dies, and then ejected. And in a perfect world every coin would be uniform, but humans and machines alike are imperfect, dies wear down, misalign, are improperly engraved, or are doubled in the hubbing process, and planchets of wrong size or composition sometimes find their way into presses, creating outliers, and though thousands of coins may be inspected, a few slip through, ending up in circulation, and decades later they may be discovered in a roll of pennies or at the bottom of a drawer, and when one of these outliers is found with the right combination of mistakes, its story spreads, collectors bid, and valuations soar. And the fascinating part of the 1984 D penny is how it reflects this phenomenon, being both ordinary in mass production and extraordinary in its rare surviving error forms. And when one considers the sheer number of coins struck at Denver that year, hundreds of millions, it becomes astonishing that a handful of such dramatic errors could survive, and yet they did, and this is what excites collectors, because it means treasure could still be hiding in plain sight, and people continue to search rolls of pennies, boxes from banks, and jars of change hoping to find that one rare piece, and even if most will never find a $6 million penny, the thrill of the hunt is enough to keep the hobby alive, and beyond that there is cultural significance in knowing that even small things like pennies can hold immense hidden value, a reminder that history and fortune sometimes converge in unexpected ways, and so the 1984 D penny stands today as a symbol of how errors and mistakes, usually thought of as flaws, can instead create beauty, value, and legacy. And as we continue this exploration we can also consider the role of grading services like PCGS and NGC, which authenticate and encapsulate coins, providing them with grades that reflect their condition. Because condition is paramount in valuation, and a rare error in poor shape might be valuable but not astronomical, whereas a rare error in mint state, with full luster and no wear, could break auction records, and stories of the 1984 D penny suggest that the finest known examples with dramatic doubled ear and other combined anomalies are those that have achieved six-figure and even seven-figure valuations, eventually reaching the legendary $6 million mark, and part of that value also comes from myth-making, because in collectibles market stories fuel demand, and when collectors hear of an almost mythical error penny selling for millions, they want to participate in that history, further driving values up, and this cycle continues, creating a blend of fact, speculation, and excitement that elevates coins like the 1984 D penny into legendary status. And to think it all began with tiny errors, a doubled ear here, a misplaced mint mark there, and yet when aligned perfectly with rarity, condition, and collector passion, those mistakes transformed a 1-cent coin into one of the most valuable pennies ever known. And it is this interplay of chance, error, and human fascination that keeps the world of coin collecting vibrant and ever intriguing. And so as we conclude this long journey into the fascinating case of the 1984 Rarest Lincoln cent worth $6 million, let it serve as a reminder to always check your change, to look closer at the details, to appreciate the artistry and the history in even the smallest coins. Because hidden among them may be not just a story of error, but a story of extraordinary fortune. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most valuable error coins of modern history, be sure to stay connected for more stories of rare treasures, unexpected discoveries, and the enduring mysteries of numismatics.